Tough crowd, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Dylan, I got nothing, man. I can't defend this movie.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
Well, he uses it for that,
so
he kills anybody with
that is another one of the dumbest scenes I've seen in a movie this year. That,
the bedroom door?
Yeah, when he broke down the bedroom door. Yeah. The whole time, by the way, there's a window right behind them. They're in a 1-story building.
Was a really X on the franchise here, because of just this beat by beat remake. Not a great start to the first chapter in the I guess what we're getting 3. So I don't know.
You got really moist there.
I just real quickly, I couldn't bring it into the conversation, but it looks like I peed my pants.
Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, we are here for a little group therapy session. Yes, we all came together after the cinematic experience that was Strangers Chapter 1. And yeah, it's time that we sit down and we kind of air out our grievances and really just all bond together and get over what a travesty this new trilogy is thus far. As you can see, Evan can't keep his composure. Jake can't drink water. And Luke has lost whatever little piece of his soul remains.
There's nothing there. He's gone.
Emotionless. It's a void right now.
Yeah.
How are we all feeling 24 hours post seeing Strangers Chapter 1?
I've been drinking profusely for the last 24 hours.
Luke, you feeling okay? You feeling any better after last night? After your day of rest?
No, I'm in a downward spiral right now.
Fair.
Fair. And then I think maybe in 20 years we're gonna see an article out there that says, actually Chapter 1 was a really good film.
It was really good. Yeah.
It's a really great movie. Everyone's going to come back to it. It's going to get those video essays. Jake, you poor bastard, you just got off your live stream where you just had to talk about this movie for an hour, and now you're going to do it again. How are you feeling? Are you still doing all right, or are you strangered out just yet?
Frankly, I want to cry.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, you're having to think about this movie a lot right now.
Dude, you know what's so funny? I'm sorry, this is such a sidebar, but I'm recording a podcast with another horror channel on Tuesday, and we were gonna talk about horror news, and he's like, dude, we should talk about the Strangers Chapter 1, and I'm like, can we not? Can we talk about anything else?
I'm exhausted, man. I can't.
I can only do so many of these.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not feeling great though.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna probably be the sentiment. I mean, if you guys are all here, all of us have reviews up for the you got really moist there.
I just real quickly, I couldn't bring it into the conversation, but it looks like I peed my pants, and I just really wanted to bring that up.
I think you brought it into the conversation quite naturally. I'm not gonna lie.
You think so? That was
that was very natural. Yeah, the transition was smooth.
Interrupting Dylan was the way to do that. Okay, cool. I'm glad we're all on the same page.
Interrupting Dylan with a crotch shot is the way to go.
I'm going to zoom up on that. That's going to be the money shot of the whole thing. That just got us demonetized, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Either way, piss stains aside, we got to talk about this film, gentlemen. We got to discuss what went wrong here with the Strangers Chapter 1, because I can easily say, we did 2 live streams with you, Jake, on your channel talking about the Strangers and the Strangers Pray at Night. We did a video on the original Strangers, and Evan went through and did 2 long form essays on both the Strangers and Pray at Night. And so we've been inundated with Strangers.
I was watching your guys' streams too. So
yes, Evan was there with us in the chat, and the thing about it here is just I gotta know, starting off with Luke here, just after seeing the film, general impressions on it, and just also to tag a little something on there. I want to know your guys' thoughts on just remakes in general, because I think that's going to be a big topic here as we go around, because there's, I think, a fine line, and I think Strangers has crossed into a side of remakes that we haven't seen in a while, and it does give me some pause, and it is a little scary, in my opinion. So, Luke, how are you feeling? General impressions, Strangers Chapter 1.
Well, it's hot garbage. Looking at this, I mean, we've talked with Jake on his streams, and actually, I think it was the last one, Pray at Night, we left it off of how we were feeling with Chapter 1, and I was like, hey, as long as we don't get a beat-for-beat remake, I think you gotta give a reason for the audience to spend the money on a ticket and go into the theater. So
it's an
you
interesting
can't
thought.
You think it would be just a given, but they went wrong there, I think, just a little bit. But, and I think that's the thing about remakes. I'm never against a remake. If you have a reason to do it, you got to make it your own. You got to put your own flavor into it. You can't just do the exact same thing, especially when it's something that's so highly regarded. If it's something that flew under the radar and maybe a lot of people are not familiar with it, and you can see, 20 years ago, bring it up and modernize it, and we can put an interesting spin on that. I think that's the way to go, but you can't just copy and paste. You can't steal someone else's homework and turn it in as your own. It just does not work, because especially in this case where it's the 2008 version, I mean, we're all in agreement that's such a great film, and then we look at this one and hey, you remade it, but you took away everything great about it. So I'm never against a remake, but just not Chapter 1.
Yeah, Evan, actually, this is a little inside baseball in our chat, talking about stealing somebody's homework. You had a really great anecdote to that, if you remember it, where you said something about, this is stealing somebody's homework, but you said something about him being in the other, like, being across the room.
It was like, this is like stealing homework and slightly changing the wording, but like their desk is on the other side of the room and you're having to squint to see it. That's what it felt like. It was, I mean, like the credits rolled for this movie and I just kind of sat there for a second like, what the fuck was that? Like I started laughing when it ended because I was so baffled by what I had just watched. It's atrocious. And, I'm in a similar position with Luke with this, where like I don't mind remakes. I don't have any issue inherently with remakes. And I was thinking about this a lot recently because, again, I was doing the Omen franchise a little while ago, and the Omen has a very beat-for-beat remake. A remake makes sense to me in a couple situations. Really, two main situations where it makes sense to remake something. And one of them is if the original concept for the movie was held back by the technology available to the filmmakers at the time that the movie was originally made. So then there's this potential that wasn't fully realized because maybe they didn't have the effects to fully bring it to life. Or maybe it was a concept that wasn't fully realized because of some writing thing. If it was an idea that didn't fully work, then that makes sense. Or if you're doing something completely different, if you're taking the idea of something and you go, my brain has a twist on this that I want to explore, that's another situation where I think a remake is warranted. This is neither of those. This is just taking scenes and moments from the first movie, haphazardly slapping them throughout the runtime, but with none of the finesse that made them effective. It's like, oh, it was creepy when Man in the Mask was standing behind Kristen, so if we have him stand behind Maya, then it's scary. It's like, no, there's more that goes into making that an effective scene. They're just taking things and not understanding what made them work, throwing them in, and then the credits roll, and nothing happened. So, there's my thoughts.
Jake, give us your thoughts, general impressions, and how are you feeling about remakes?
I'm also with everybody else. I'm not against remakes, but you have to have a reason. You got to have a reason to want to do it and to do it differently in particular. Like, I do not want to see the same movie again. And you know what? A remake I actually like, which I want to use it here as a comparison piece because I think it actually kind of works here. The Wicker Man remake with Nicolas Cage. It's a bad movie. It is a bad movie, but it is a different movie from the original. And it's so fun. There are things about that movie that I quote all the time. It is so bad it's good. It's not only the not the bees thing. I fucking love when he like runs up to the little girl and he like picks her up and he's like, "Don't be frightened," or whatever he said. Like, that's ridiculous. How to get burned? Like, here's my thing about that is a movie that tried to do something new and missed. But you know what? I still watch it to this day. It's a movie that still works for me because it's so bad it's good. It's fun. This is the worst kind of remake that we're dealing with here. This is a movie that was made because someone in the marketing team was like, hey, people are talking about The Strangers online a lot. Like, let's fucking run this. It's totally speculative, but I mean, there's no soul to this. There's no personality. There's no like, oh, Rennie Harlin's unique directing style he put on this. There's none of that. This is just like a soulless cash grab where they took scenes from the other two movies and just loosely stitched them together and like tried to pretend like it's something new. This is embarrassing, frankly. Like, I can't believe they wasted my time and energy and money, especially, which I don't know. I'm so frustrated, man. I almost can't even put it into words. Leaving the theater for this, my girlfriend, who had never seen the other Strangers movies, I specifically went with her because I wanted to know what her take was on this. And she was like, it was fine. It was like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Like, that was her take. And then I was like, can I tell you every single scene from that movie that was ripped from something else? And she's like, yeah. And she's
was
like,
she in the background of your video?
yes, she's the one that is.
Yeah, that
okay,
was
yeah.
funny. I thought that was a good touch.
Yeah.
I wanted to put her in the video, but she's like, I don't want to be in the video or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it'd be fun. Come on. But her take on it, I really wanted to take her to this because I was worried that exactly what we saw was going to be what it was. Just a remake that basically does exactly what the original does, but worse. And it's the worst case scenario, and is what we got. Unfortunately, it is reality. Even her who had not seen the other movies, she was like, that was fine. Like, it was like nowhere near my favorite. It didn't really build tension very well. And a lot of that comes from the fact that it's just, we watched the other movies. That's the writers watched the other movies. They just wrote down what happens and then tried to like make it a little different, but it didn't work. And it's because this movie lacked creativity. This movie lacks any sort of personality or risk taking that would make it something fun, or something that even at the very least could be so bad it's good, which would be worth your time because at least it's different. This movie's not even that. It's below that. And that's what makes it something that's just something I'll probably never watch again.
You know what's kind of weird is that Rennie Harlin kind of did this before with The Exorcist. Where like Dominion was like a pretty decent script. And then he got it, altered it a little bit, like he's looking through foggy glasses, and then made a cheapened version. So this isn't even the first time he's made a cheaper version of a decent movie.
You know, I was sitting here kind of defending Rennie Harlin a little bit, just because like I love movies like Long Kiss Goodnight and Deep Blue Sea, especially. That's one of those movies that just like, it has my heart. Like, he's got a couple under his belt, like Cliffhanger, I think you said is one, Luke, that you enjoy. You know, like, it's one of those things where it's like he's got some decent movies under his belt. So I thought, you know, I haven't seen anything he's done recently. I know he has some stuff that went straight to DVD, but like, for him to come back and do a big studio title like this, it's kind of like, this is exciting, you know, kind of seeing somebody maybe be a little bit more reinvigorated and ready to take it. But this just feels so much like a paycheck movie. And like, that's the thing that sucks. And like, I'm very curious with the fact that your girlfriend had never seen The Strangers, and she went in and had this feeling that like, this is a 4 out of 10. Like, this movie is bland. And that is the worst like part, outside of them just like ripping from the movie, is that all the original stuff, all the new stuff, if you want to call it that, is it's just generic garbage. It's like that we're just filling in slots. Just, it's like, okay, so, you know, we have this scene, we need a little connective tissue here. What's a straight to Tubi horror movie that we just saw? Oh, this will work. We'll take this and do this. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was just really like just disappointed all the way around. I was very frustrated with this movie after seeing it. And I think the thing that like the reason I wanted to bring up the remakes conversation is just because, again, it does worry me that like, you know, I think the general consensus from fans and everybody is that even if this has a nice like solid weekend, which I am curious to see with all these reviews from Thursday, Friday, I saw in your live stream and I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that they refunded their tickets, they're not going. I'm curious if that's going to be enough to hit it, because I was worried that this was going to do really well this weekend.
I had a lot of comments of people who are being like, guess I'm not seeing it.
Yeah. And I was worried that was going to encourage studios to be like, well, see, this is what they want. They just want us to redo it. Cause like there was a time when remakes that was pretty commonplace to really just do beat for beat. And, you know, there are some that work slightly with that. One that I think is really close to the original, but I think is really great and actually stands toe to toe with it is The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
from Alexander Aja. It's
Totally.
got a lot of similar moments, but they change just enough, and they bring just enough of an update to a visual style to that
It's a
it's
great
like
movie.
it's solid, and it's something where someone could make the argument that's a beat for beat remake. It's like, not really, but it does have a lot of the same scenes. So it's like I could see where that argument lies, but it works. But I think again that just becomes because there's vision, there's energy, there's life behind that, as to where everybody seems to say this is soulless. So it's like that's really, I think, where I'm sitting with this, and why I thought like this is just dangerous territory if this does really well, and then studios look at it and say, hey, especially with them pumping stuff right out on streaming, they could easily just start going right for it. But I think let's hop into kind of the brief segments of this film that were new. Was there anything that stood out to you guys, starting with Luke, for any of the new stuff? Anything that you liked that wasn't just a direct retread of the first film?
I was a big fan of our what's his name? Ryan? I'm not sure that.
Ryan and Maya.
Ryan, yeah.
Ryan. I was a big fan that he had asthma. I thought that was a really good addition.
They really
to
kept
the
like
character,
throwing that.
I need to talk
back
about
at
that
us.
water bottle thing eventually.
Yeah. Oh
Jesus
my God.
Christ.
No, there was really nothing in here until you guys started talking about the nail scene. I really didn't even occur to me that there was too many like actual additions to anything, because it was just one of those. It really looked like this film was I don't know, written completely different, and then they were like, hey, well, let's just adapt this and take the beats from The Strangers, and we can make The Strangers out of it. Because I think everything that is I guess you'd say more original, other than that one particular scene, it's inconsequential mostly, where it's just like, it's just some dialogue changes, things like that. So honestly, I don't really have anything to bring to the table on this one, because it was just, I was so focused heavily on everything that was the same, because that is what, like 95% of the film. So, for me, nothing in terms of originality really hit. I mean, even going into the town and seeing those characters was just, it was something that we see in a lot of horror movies. So it wasn't really something that really stuck with me as unique or anything, other than, seeing Richard Brake. And hey, that's always a pleasure. But, even seeing Last Stop in Yuma County and then seeing him just very briefly in this, I was like, well, there goes that, because we don't even get Richard Brake on screen for anything. So no.
He doesn't say a single word.
No,
All he has to do is give a look.
it's such a waste. I don't know if you gentlemen have seen Last Stop in Yuma County, but like, if you want to see a great Richard Brake performance, my God, he's magical.
He's great, always.
In that. So
Yeah.
he's wonderful. Evan, anything new in this film that you can point out as maybe being somewhat comparable? If not, just go ahead and talk about all the bad stuff.
So the thing is, like, any of the solitary moments where it's like, oh, this wasn't in the original Strangers, it's like, yeah, but I have seen it in other movies. Like, there are things that maybe aren't being taken directly from the Strangers, but there's nothing original in this movie anywhere. There is nothing that you haven't seen before, which is infuriating, because it just makes you feel like there's absolutely no reason to be sitting in the seat. The nail scene, which I can't wait for Jake to talk about this. The nail scene was the one thing where I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, that's a cool scene of suspense. Like, oh, she stabbed her hand, but she can't make any noise. And as I was telling these guys right before we went live, but then I went, fucking Quiet Place already did this. I saw this exact same scene already. And the same reason that getting the nail in the hand is an issue, because I can't make a noise right now. So, like, even moments where I was trying to find something in this movie to latch onto to say, well, there's something new, I was like, not really. There's just something that wasn't in the original Strangers. I'm really trying to think. I guess they spend a little more time in the woods in this one than they did. The woods in the first one was a means to get between the house and the shed. And in this new one, they hang out in the woods a little bit longer. And I look, I need to talk about this fucking water bottle thing, because I didn't mention it in my video. So as we were saying, he has asthma, but he doesn't have his inhaler with him. So he's sitting behind a tractor or something like that. I think it was a tractor.
Yeah, it was like a
And-
tractor or car
something
or
like
some
that.
shit,
And then
yeah.
randomly there's a water bottle next to him, which like I don't know why that was
It's
there.
the
but
cleanest fucking water bottle in the
Yeah.
world.
look, this
dude.
isn't what I want to talk about. You're right. That's not the part I want to talk about. I don't know why it's there. I don't know who is maintaining
Someone
this water
threw
bottle.
that off of the catering and was like,
Yeah,
"We need
yeah,
water
exactly. It was
bottle."
one of the like a crew member, and they were just like, sure. So he tries to make like a DIY thing to help him calm his breath, but in order to do that, he has to twist this bottle. Now let's recap why he needs to not be having an asthma attack right now is because he's gonna breathe kind of loudly and he might get caught. So what's the solution to that? Well, the solution is to twist a plastic bottle, which is 10 times fucking louder than the sound of your breath is. Oh my god, it's like, he's like, oh shit. That's better. Like, what the fuck, man? That was a moment that wasn't in the first one, thankfully. I'm glad that wasn't there. So there you go. Those are the moments that weren't in the original.
Jake, anything new in this film that really stands out for you? I would hate if something got spoiled by the marketing.
That would
for
really
me
suck if
may
the
have
one
been
new thing in the movie was spoiled for Jake
the
by
only
marketing.
slightly interesting Quiet Place scene or something like that, you know?
So you guys enjoyed that nail scene, huh? Because you saw it for the first time. You
Yes,
did, huh?
because I took your warning because you
Yeah.
you were a homie and warned us about it.
Yeah, seriously, I
Yeah.
think you saved all of us from that.
Yeah,
'cause
thank you.
We didn't watch any. Not like I was seeking it out, but like any.
But I went blinders on the marketing once you told me that.
Yeah,
Well-
anytime something popped up on my feed or anything, I just scrolled right past it. Didn't even look.
Yeah, you're fucking welcome.
Thank you, bud.
This movie went from a 1 out of 10 to a 0 out of 10 because the marketing team was like, you know what, we're just not getting enough people in. We're just not getting enough butts in seats, man. So we're gonna put this in a brand new TV spot. And it, here's the thing that really makes me upset about it. It's one thing for a trailer to come out and just spoil something from a movie. We've seen it done countless times. Halloween Kills is one of the
atrocious.
one of the worst offenders. The last trailer for that gives away every big surprise from that movie.
They show
It's
so much
horrible.
of the third act.
Now listen,
crazy.
that's one thing. But to start off a brand new teaser or TV spot with the best scene of your movie, that is the most frustrated I have ever been with a marketing team in my entire 5 years of doing this, dude. Fuck that. I cannot dude, it starts like, go watch it. Go to the Instagram page.
I
It's
did.
the
I watched
first
it
thing.
after. Yeah.
I put it in the video because I'm like, this is insane. This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen. And it is the best part of the movie. I mean, it is the only part of the movie that kind of got a little reaction out of me.
100%.
And then, like you said, it's Quiet Place, it's Ready or Not. They've done this before in a lot of modern movies, dude. That was, oh, God. That made me so mad. And that's the only scene that I feel like kind of gets a little reaction out of you. There's some jump scares, whatever, but I mean, that's just not The Strangers, dude. There's been some like little jumps in the past, but that was never like the thing. You know what I mean? The thing from the past Strangers movies is like the man in the mask creeping around in the background. That's so fucking scary because the way it's shot and Liv Tyler not knowing that that's all back there. That's so fucking creepy. And you're just like, turn around, Liv, come on. And then, they try to do that here too, but it sucks. I will say something that was recently pointed out to me about another new scene in this, though, is the chicken scene, which, another thing that was spoiled in the trailer, hilarious. When Froy Gutierrez, Ryan, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
He's eating the burger and all the ketchup's dripping out of it. Why does the blood just drip out of the chicken then? Like, and also, how do they not smell that? Have you guys ever been around dead animals before? Like,
I don't know if it had been dead for very long.
I think it
Dude.
just got killed.
I think it was a fresh kill, which also, by the way, that doesn't excuse it because that would mean there should definitely be blood the whole time.
yeah, you would smell it. The blood would have dripped way before that. It's a dumb scene, and it's new. I'll give him that, but it doesn't make a lick of sense. Just like the water bottle scene. I don't know, man. I don't know, Dylan. I got nothing, man. I can't defend this.
There's
movie.
nothing. There's fucking nothing.
Hey, I'm not looking for pure full blown defense here. You guys are fine. Because really, all I was gonna say was that burger scene that you bring up. That was fucking disgusting. Like I don't know why.
Why was he
probably
eating
just-
like that?
I know, dude. It was so gross. Like usually it doesn't bother me, but it's like that was so unbelievably gross.
They
And it
had
might
to
have just been
stretch
because I was
so
frustrated,
hard.
But oh,
They had to stretch so hard for that scene for it to have like the setup of the ketchup dripping
I
and then
know he had
blending.
to eat
like
a
they had to
animal.
tell him like, bro, eat like you've never fucking eaten before. And it was just like Who eats
This is
like
the
that?
tastiest burger you've
Yeah.
ever had in your life, dude.
And it's like, it's so messy, and it's like, I know that they kind of, if I'm giving them any credit, they kind of allude to that with him having these messy fucking, I guess, like diet or whatever she said earlier when he was eating
He had a
what was it,
turkey
the
melt.
turkey,
It was a
the
turkey melt. They kept bringing up the fucking turkey melt.
I know, dude. They mentioned it like 4 times. I know,
I
these,
know.
these are little minor things.
It's all gonna come back.
Right?
The turkey melt's going to come back in part
It will.
3. Little do you know, that's
Right.
where it all comes back to.
Can I say that, like, the one piece that, like, kind of had me hoping that there would be something new, even though it was probably going to be something very underwhelming, was that cold open, like, set up this whole thing of, like, who is this random guy? He obviously looks like he's, you know, they said he was, like, some, eccentric, like,
Business guy, yeah.
business guy. They didn't even, like, give him a full title or anything, but, like, he's missing or whatever. And they find his body later on. But it's like, I thought, okay, this is at least going to be something that, even if they don't fully explain it, there's going to be something with this that has to do with him, like, maybe buying out the town or something like that, where they're at least going to allude to why this is going on and give us some kind of a nugget. It's nothing. Like, there is nothing. And, you know, I would have taken that as just the cold open, but the fact that they have the missing poster and they talk about it, it's like, clearly you guys are trying to allude to something here. And I don't, it's nothing. And, you know, Jake brought up a really good point. I think it was Jake's video where one of you guys said he doesn't use the axe at all. The fucking mask guy, he doesn't use it. And it's like, that's the one scene where, like, he uses it and it's a cutaway, obviously.
You don't see it.
Does he use it to cut the door down?
Well, he uses it for that, but he never kills anybody with
that is another one of the dumbest scenes I've seen in a movie this year.
The bedroom door?
Yeah, when he breaks down the bedroom door, the whole time, by the way, there's a window right behind them. They're in a 1-story building. There's a window. Fucking turn around. But also, he breaks the door down and then walks away, and then they're just like, oh shit, we're good. They're gone. What?
I audibly said, I think, if you remember this, I said or whispered, I was like, oh, he's just gonna go to the window, because, like, there's no reason why he chops the door down, stares, and he's just staring at them as they're leaning against the window. And I just thought, oh, he's walking away and he's gonna bust through the window, you know, a la Friday the 13th Part 2, and, like, grab one of them.
It really felt like they were trying to frame, like, they were framing it like the window was supposed to be a significant part of the scene. The whole time you're
then nothing.
You're,
like, literally
drawn
nothing
to the
with
window. That whole scene, nothing happens with it. And the fact that
the shed window, the shed, he jumps through the shed window, man.
Also,
they're setting that up. Damn
Did
it.
he shoot a pump action shotgun directly next to his girlfriend's head? I may not. I live in Canada. All right, I don't know a lot about this shit, but I'm pretty sure those have some spread to them.
Unless it's from what I understand.
Did he check if it was slug round or?
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. It's a slug round or a buckshot or something where it's like it's like a.
I want to see if we see him load it, because I swear to God, I feel like I remember seeing him load buckshot.
No, he said he had plenty of ammo. Remember, he said he's the little passive line, and I've got plenty of ammo. So he could cock that thing as many times as he wanted, and it would have been fine. But before we move on to the next piece, there is one little element that really bothered me, and I don't know if it was the same for you guys. Oh, there's many, but this was one that, like, physically bothered me, and I didn't get to talk to Luke about this yet.
This medically upset me.
I thought this was just like a personal thing, but I saw a couple of comments on, I think it was one of your guys' videos, I know it was on ours, and some comments just on, like, social media. Did anybody else get, like, a headache or, like, an eyesore when they were right after Ryan shows back up at the house and they're doing those really close-up shots of his face?
What the fuck was that?
That, like, hurt my eyes. Like, it was one of those things where I was squinting and I'm like, why does this hurt? Like, why does it like, it bothers me, like, literally. Like, I've never had that happen in a movie before.
I didn't have that. I was just furious because I was realizing that was one of the first moments where I was like, oh, they're literally doing nothing new, because they have him come home with, like, this fake out jump scare, which is exactly what happens in the first one, where James comes through the door to get Kristen, but now it's Ryan coming through the closet door to get Maya. It was exactly the same fucking thing. So I was just distracted by how mad I was. But yeah, like the way there is something really strange about how they were shooting that scene. And I don't know if it was them trying to like hint to Ryan maybe being involved in some way. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Luke, did you have did that hurt your eyes at all?
It didn't hurt my eyes. I remember the scene specifically though, because I made a mental note of how weird it looked. It looked out of place in terms of shots of what we had been seeing in the camera placement to his face. It just looked like it didn't belong. It almost looked like it was not shot in that sequence, and they were like, oh, we got to get everyone back for like.
You know what it looked like?
Close-up.
It looked like they filmed it with one of those faces that have like with the Apple Vision Pro when you go on FaceTime, and it like makes the weird like AI model of you. That's what that was like.
There was something uncanny about it. Jake, did you have a similar experience to us?
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I was with Luke here. Like, there was a point in this movie, which was before this sequence, where I was just so frustrated with the fact that they were just doing the 2008 film again. That's all I was thinking about. I'm just like, this fucking sucks. I'm like, here comes the dumb jump scare, and there it was. So that's all that I got from it.
I could predict everything that was gonna happen in this movie because it's so reliably the same thing.
There's hardly anything about it that's different. And then when they do try to do something from the past movies, it doesn't land. Like the fucking when she's playing the piano and the man in the mask is behind her.
Listen, guys, Ryan has asthma.
Ryan, you're right. You're right.
Ryan has asthma.
It is a new
This movie is original. Dude, the other thing, and I'm so sorry, I don't mean to get off topic. I know we have a schedule to follow here. But is it the thing that bothered me the most that was kind of an original thing, I guess, was the strangers teleported. Like they were basically
I mentioned that in mine. Yes.
Dude.
Bro, they fucking full on fucking teleport in this movie.
Jason Voorhees Part 7 teleportation. Like
that's
it
exactly
is
what
ridiculous.
I was thinking. Yes.
Sorry. Okay, Dylan, let's get back on track here. But
fine.
What the fuck?
You're fine. I was looking through my notes here real quick, but like, yeah, it is one of those things. Like, let's just get into the strangers themselves because it's a perfect segue, actually. Because like, I think all of us agreed. Like, this was one big thing that like Luke and I said walking out of the theater before we even shot our review was just like they have no personality. Like they have, and I'm not sitting here saying that like all the strangers in the past films have like a deep personality or like you can really tell they're very, stoic. They're very much just kind of moving through doing their thing. But like they feel like people in strangers costumes in this movie. Like that's how they feel. They feel like Party City versions of the strangers. Luke, how do you feel about them as a whole? The performances, the looks, all of it.
It was all bad. There was no mystique there. Where we've talked about the past too, and yes, they don't have like this deep character development or anything, but they all have scenes with the man in the mask where Liv Tyler's looking through, where she's in the closet, and we see him walk and sit at the fireplace. The way he carries himself, it's just eerie and weird, And then we have the Is Tamra home. Just compare the delivery of the original to what we just got. It doesn't have the same eeriness. It's just kind of it's just lazy, in terms of delivery, in terms of what they're doing with these characters. There was just they're only seen as a threat, I feel, because they have weapons, not because of you're really getting in this deep rooted psychological defect of them wanting to terrorize these unsuspecting people, and they're finding fun in it. I think that shines through in the past two installments of what they're doing. And this one just seems like, hey, we threw out masks on these actors, we gave them weapons, and now they're here to do a job. It just didn't feel, they didn't sell me on it. Nothing on this film sells me. And, I think, if you're going to do beat for beat, at least make sure that your villains are taken care of. And we can say, hey, this movie may be shit, but those villains, that's something to talk about, isn't it? And yes, we're talking about them, but it's because they're completely background players. There's no scene that really I can say, hey, they did a great job with the strangers there.
Yeah.
Evan, how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I barely did talk about them in my review because like I just had so little to say. The villains in the first movie are some of the scariest villains in horror. Like, they are so psychologically disturbing. And then these, I think, Dylan, you worded it perfectly. Like, it feels like Party City versions of these killers, where like the only reason that they're scary is because they have a weapon. There's nothing in the way they're shot. There's nothing in the way they're acted that builds up that tension. It's literally just, this guy has a knife, so he's inherently intimidating. They didn't feel like, the first one, they felt like they were like intelligent and playful. In this one, they just are just there and attacking them. Like, it feels like they were trying to write that playfulness into the script in some way, but they didn't do anything with it. So, you know, there's that one moment where he's like snapping along to the record, which just felt really awkward. Like, I really like that kind of thing with slasher villains. Like, I like when there's a bit of like goofiness to them, but that felt really out of place.
It didn't feel natural. It felt like
no,
they told him to do it.
And also, Man in the Mask is the last one out of those who would be doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
That felt like, why the fuck is this guy doing it? In terms of design, the biggest issue, I think, is that I didn't realize how similar Pinup Girl and Dollface's masks were until this movie took away Dollface's blonde hair.
Yeah,
Luke literally said that. Like,
and gave both of them toques. Dude. Where it's like, now I don't know who the fuck I'm looking like. You're just removing distinguishing characteristics from these villains who you've already failed to capture the spirit of. So now, not only are they blending in with every other generic horror villain, they're blending in with each other. So it's just like, even within the context of this movie, they don't feel distinct, which is impressive.
And I gotta say, like, Jake had a viewer bring up a question about how he felt about the hats on them, and like I thought that was such a, like, you know, no hate to the viewer, obviously. I just thought, like, oh, I don't care, like, it is what it is. It's a small design choice. But I was not paying attention, I guess, with all the marketing and everything, to realize that no, both of them have hats.
Yeah.
And it was going to become an issue. So, like, that question went way over my head. I was like, it's a non-issue. What are we talking about? So it's like, Jake, how you feeling about these strangers, man? How you feeling now that we're on the level? We're in the pits with you now. We get it.
So I'm very much with you guys, and in order to not repeat what all three of us just said, I totally agree with you guys. The strangers had really no characteristics. We have. The thing is, though, we do have the creatives trying to add something to them. If it's the snapping along to the record, that feels out of character for the Man in the Mask. We have Dollface singing this like hymn, or not hymn. That's the wrong word. Lullaby. Yeah, thank you. Like, and it's like, it's all these things that just feel totally out of character. Yet we have the creatives behind this movie saying that we're going to explain who the strangers are, not saying that we're going to alter the characters entirely to be something else. And, well, frankly, more generic. It just felt like they were forcing all these things that felt so tropey, that felt so like, I've seen this done 1,000 times before. I feel like I already know all the answers that they're going to give to us in chapter 2 and chapter 3. Which, speaking of the beanies, dude, the reason they're doing that is because we've already met the strangers at the fucking diner.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
Me and my guests talked about this on stream tonight, and our whole thing was they're going to do a Scream style reveal in chapter 3 where you get the beanies taken off, and it's the couple at the diner, dude. It's going to be them, and it's going to be so disappointing. And the reason, and honestly, dude, we already know that this trilogy is going to reveal who Tamara is, because once again, the creators behind the film have told us that. And my guess, and I feel like it's pretty obvious, we have Dollface knocking on the door saying, is Tamara here? And she's the one singing the lullaby later on. That's the only new addition to her character. It's going to be like a dead baby or something. It's going to be like a dead child, or maybe her first kill that was a kid. Dude, it's like, it's everything that, every move that is going to happen in the next movie, I feel like has already been translated in this film. Not only was this movie super predictable and hit the same beats as the original flick, but I feel like I know exactly where it's going. Dylan, you came into the live and you're like, dude, oh, next movie's going to be Halloween 2 beat for beat. I don't think you're too far off. I think you're spot on, man. And it's frustrating. It's painful. It's frustrating. And even if the next two films offer some kind of originality and take the strangers to new locations, maybe we have some more exciting kills. I feel like I know exactly where we're going now with chapters 2 and 3, and it's just nothing to be super excited about.
Yeah, Luke and I literally said that walking out of the theater last night. We had a pretty intensive conversation about it, because, like, both our heads were just like, it's going to be Halloween 2. It's all going to take place in a hospital, and that's where it's going to happen. Can we just briefly say, I know we're jumping ahead here, but like, what the fuck was that post-credit scene? Like, what is that? Is like the weakest sauce.
Wait, was there a post-credit scene?
Oh yeah,
like
dude, did you miss
Oh,
that?
I left. I was out.
Oh, okay. The mid-credit scene is May's laying in the hospital bed, and what does she do? Like stir awake or whatever, or kind of just sit up? She barely even opens her eyes, and she like lifts up, and the fucking sackhead guy's laying in bed with her. Like
Froy at night,
it's
just
a
like
reverse,
just the
it's
same.
a reverse of where it's like instead of the guy laying down, or like I think it was Dollface, wasn't it? Laying down, it's just she gets up, and there's one there.
They had fucking
so
nothing.
dumb, dude.
They have nothing. No, as soon as I saw the credit, like directed by Rennie, I was like, all right, I'm out. Bye.
Another thing
I wasn't
like,
sitting around.
Just minor that I thought was goofy as hell, and like was the first sign of like, I don't necessarily know if I like this, how they're treating this material. So like we've all talked about how that opening monologue, or like the opening text, just like Texas Chainsaw, how effective it is in that first film, and how I hate the line of dialogue in there where they're just like, or the writing where it's just like, they're talking about every like violent kill or violent action in the United States happens every blah blah. There have been 7 since you started watching this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you fucking pulling us out, like breaking the fourth wall right now?
But also like, if you're gonna try and give your if you're gonna open your movie trying to like base it in reality, like here's an account of one of the most brutal ones, but then you don't make any aspect of the presentation of that movie try to feel even remotely realistic or gritty, you're just pissing me off. Which,
right?
By the way, was an issue that I had with the Texas Chainsaw remake as well, where like it starts with, that is a much better movie than this. I'm not dragging it down to this level. But I just mean like it starts being like, this is an account of the tragedy. And it's like, yeah, but you're not presenting the movie like that. So why are you even starting with this text? It's an out of place, tacked on bullshit thing. Same thing in this fucking movie. It makes absolutely no sense. In the first one, it makes sense because it's such an immersive, like almost documentary feeling movie. Like you're watching hidden camera footage of this going on. So that text scroll fits. It doesn't fit here. This is a fucking candy movie. Like what?
Not to go off
shit
on
candy, by the way. It's candy corn.
candy corn, exactly.
Candy corn
The
movie.
worst kind.
Yeah.
Not to go off on a tangent on Texas Chainsaw there, but the only reason I would even give that a pass, and I do, is just because I know it's just paying homage to the original.
Yeah, it
because
fits
it's
more
so
there.
iconic.
It
but yeah,
fits more
here
there.
it's like it's totally like unnecessary. It doesn't make any sense. They
No.
like the first film, when that text comes up and you have the voice and everything, like it feels like you're watching a true crime documentary. It feels it really sets the tone really well. And you're right. Like if they would have at least stuck to the presentation, like we spent like 3 videos, I think, talking about, well, at least Luke and I, and I know Jake, we brought this up on your stream, of just like the natural lighting of that first film, all of the color. Like Evan went into a whole thing about it in his video, and just the way that the handheld like camera usage, like it's one of the few films where they use handheld like shaky cam where it doesn't like feel like garbage, where it doesn't
really
feel
well, yeah.
bad. It feels natural. It gets you more invested, which is a lot, considering like I've only ever seen that first film on like a home TV screen. I've never seen it in a theater, and I'm sure it plays even better in a theater. But it's just one of those things where it's like, there's none of that here. They shoot this like a CW show. Like that's how it feels. Like it's so stupid.
What I was comparing it to, and like I want to talk about the visuals for a second, because I've had a couple people be like, "Oh yeah, the movie's shit, but at least it like looks really good." And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What movie did you watch? Like I just don't understand that. I opened my review of it talking about how this feels like watching the like Halloween seasonal commercials that like Reese's makes, where it's just like everything is like really bright saturated colors and like fog everywhere for absolutely no reason. This movie looks like shit. It's not like, they don't understand how to frame a shot well. They don't understand how to light a scene effectively because it looks like they're on a fucking CW set. Like, this does not feel like they're in a remote cabin in the middle of the woods. Even when they get out into the forest, it feels like they're in the middle of a fucking rave. Like, it doesn't look or feel naturalistic or immersive at all, which is the whole backbone that the first movie is built off of, and it's what made it scary. I noticed this with the marketing, and this was something that concerned me, was they were leaning so heavily into the appeal of the strangers being the strangers themselves, which it isn't. It's the way that they're used to build suspense and the way that they're framed and shot and set up in these scenes. It's the way they move through the scenes that makes them effective. But so much of the marketing was like, oh, the strangers are showing up here and they're showing up there. It's like, you're completely missing the point. I could tell that they were missing the point already. And then the look of this movie just shows everything that I was worrying that it was going to be. It's so cheap.
Yeah, Luke, how are you feeling about the color and the like, you know, just the filmmaking in general in this one? Was there anything that just like stood out to you?
They knocked it out of the park.
God damn it.
10 out of 10.
Is that what, there it is. No, like we
Robert
talked about
Eggers
it.
is no longer my favorite director. It's now Rennie Harlan.
There it is. He doesn't disappoint ever. You know, like we talked about it in our review, where Brian Bertino, you know, that idea of the strangers was based on something that happened to him as a child. And I think, you know, looking at that, there's that intimacy, there's that connective tissue, especially as a child that happens and you become an adult and you kind of replay those events in your head and you kind of really have a specific vision. And I think that shined through in that 2008 version where, you know, you have that warm setting where it feels very homey. And then you have these interlopers come in and it's like, hey, we're knocking down your door. And it's very personal because this is his family home. You know, it's not some random Airbnb. And I think, you know, how you frame the strangers, how you build that tension, it shines through in that 2008 version where, you know, the story is fairly basic in a sense, but it's the way that they build that tension and they frame everything. Where this one, when I brought up, you know, it feels like this was just a random horror movie that they decided to take and then put the beats of the Stranger movie in. It really does. You look at through the lens, it looks like that. It looks like anything that anyone has done. You know, it just looks like a random. I made the joke about when we were sitting in the theater of Blumhouse film, where it was just like it just felt general horror. It just felt
really cheap.
Yeah, it feels manufactured. There was no intimacy here. It was just like, this is what we're doing. Make sure we can see everything, and then let's hit action. You know, let's do it. You know, it just did not feel like there was any personal actual take in here, I guess, where it just felt any run of the mill horror film right here. Here you go. So yeah, nothing really hit for me. It wasn't like anything where I really was like, oh, that was really well done. Again, I don't know. I'm so negative on this film. It's hard to pull any positives.
No, I get it. And I'm not looking for positives. I want to hear like his thoughts. And Jake,
can I give a positive?
Go for it. Go for it.
I have one positive shot from this whole movie. There was one shot where I was like, ooh, pretty. And it's when Madelaine Petsch like has her like the phone flashlight on and she like raises it up and like it has that weird like lens flare.
Oh, lens flare, yeah.
Kind of cool. I'm like,
that was like, oh, they're super anamorphic here. I mean, so you know that was interesting. There was one shot that I liked.
Okay,
there was a shot that I liked, not the scene itself, but the solitary shot as an image of her playing Moonlight Sonata, and you see the stranger above her. I'm always a sucker for like, as I said in my video, I'm a sucker for like Moonlight Sonata in the middle of the woods. There's a vibe to that I really like. The scene itself is dumb as fuck. It makes absolutely no sense because again, he teleports. But the image itself of him just like sitting in the chair, just like watching her play, I was like, I like that in a very, very tight vacuum because every moment before and after that makes absolutely no sense.
See, that's my thing about that scene though in particular. It's less the shots of this movie that bother me, like whatever. It's a little it's very unoriginal, it's very like not uninspired, but it's the sound design that bothers me the most. Earlier on in the film, we hear them walking through sound. Yes. Oh, it bothers the hell out of me. When you hear Ryan and Maya walking through the house, you hear the wooden boards creak. And then when the strangers are walking through, you don't hear shit. They fucking
why are you even establishing that?
They teleport. No, they have to teleport. Otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
The shower thing?
The shower thing, that scene in particular, like it's like there's hardwood floors there.
Also,
you would have heard something.
Have you ever stood up from a rocking chair on hardwood floor?
It's fucking loud.
It makes a bit of noise.
Yes. Sorry, Luke. I think you were gonna say something.
What were you gonna say there?
Oh, I had a problem with that shot of the man in the mask with, his reflection as he's watching. I thought, like looking at that, hey, we're retreading everything. I thought it would have been more effective if, rather than sitting in your face right there, if it was kind of that take on Liv Tyler and the man in the mask in the background, it was just standing in just a little peek of him watching her play would have just been way more effective and less of that in your face. Oh, hey, make sure the audience can see him. He's right there, but she can't.
The audience is stupid.
If you catch it, you catch it. If you don't, you don't. It's something you get to maybe find when you pick it up on Blu-ray or whatever.
This definitely is one of those ones where like it feels like they think you're dumb while you're watching it.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't need you to hand this much to me. I'm not so stupid that I can come face to face with a serial killer wearing a mask in my house and then go, yeah, maybe I did hallucinate that actually. I was smoking a little bit of weed earlier. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Why did she believe that?
Weed doesn't make you hallucinate either. I fucking hate that, dude.
I know. Bro, I had someone comment about that on my Strangers 2008 review where they're like, I was like, hey, maybe he should believe Liv Tyler when he comes home. And he's like, yeah, I would believe my girlfriend too if she was acting hysterical after a few drinks. I'm like, yeah, alcohol makes you hallucinate people breaking into your house. Can confirm. Like, bro, the fucking... What? Have these people ever smoked weed or drank before? It doesn't work like that.
They're straight edge, bro. They don't do that.
It doesn't work like that.
I do want to, so we can kind of keep things moving here. We were on the Strangers there for a bit. I want to kind of go into, we're all very creative people. We all have aspirations and things. We're always working on scripts. Evan's got his hands in scripts, novels, all kinds of stuff. And Jake's currently working on his next film. So, that's something where I know it always creeps into the back of your mind when you're talking about, horror and things you love. What would you do with it? And I got to know, starting with Jake, actually, I want to go this way with it. Jake, how did you, if you were given the keys to the Stranger's Kingdom, how would you have done this? Whether it be a trilogy or just a sequel, or how would you have taken, what direction would you have gone with this IP?
Oh my God. I mean, so listen, Dylan, you kind of know, I can't say too much about it, obviously, but we did just get off of a slasher home invasion short film that we were just working on. And like, my whole thing with it, like before, okay, I'm sorry, stay on track here, right? Strangers. I swear this relates, okay? But like we spent so much time talking about like how we want to do the camera work, how we want to do like this production. Like we went through like a bunch of different lenses. We ended up going like with this like crazy like Russian lens that's like discontinued and all this shit to shoot our short film. And it was like, oh, it's going to be super artsy and cool. And like we went through a bunch of different shit to get the right thing, to get the thing that worked the best with what the script was. Me and the director of photography, we spent so much time on that. And this film, I don't feel like does that at all. It feels so cookie cutter. It feels so Blumhouse. Like I think Luke said that earlier. I just don't understand how you can go back and look at The Strangers from 2008 and think, I want to make this into such a generic horror film. It's such an experimental, trying things differently kind of slasher that feels so scary and puts you in the situation because of the way it's shot, because of the way it flows. And I love that. I would love to do such a simple one-off movie, because this is not a franchise that needs 3 whole movies to explain who the killers are. You've already missed the point before they even shot anything. Just the fact that was the idea for the script, you missed the point. All we need for a new Strangers film is give me another situation at a house in a suburbs, maybe. Like, I pitched this off the top of my head during my live stream just now. I said, like, what if you have like a richer family in the suburbs, make it takes place in like the early 2000s or like late 90s or something, so no cell phones, you just cut a phone line or something, they can't call the cops, and they got to deal with the strangers. Now it's a completely different situation than what we saw in the last 2 films, because it's not like a family struggling with their daughter who's been bad at school or whatever the fuck. And then or not, in both of these movies that we're talking about, not a struggling couple who's having trouble with marriage. which is exactly the same thing in the first and chapter 1.
But there's no tension in this one because they're on the same page.
I don't even think they're struggling.
Good point.
Like, not to diverge, but that's been a big thing for me is people are like, oh, they're struggling. It's like, so what? She's like,
they're madly in love and both want to get married.
Are you going to propose to me? It's like,
it's been 5 years.
I didn't know you wanted me to. I thought you didn't want to be married. Oh, well, I do. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's not
like,
tension.
In the other film, it's like, it's fucking heartbreaking. Like, they're in there.
Bro, that movie's depressing.
Sad. Like, goddamn. Jake, continue before we can go on this tirade.
You guys are right. You guys are so right. It's so frustrating. But like my point, I guess my point is like that's my off the top of my head pitch. Like, and that I'm sorry, like I don't mean to sound full of myself. That sounds better because it's simple and it's what we want from The Strangers. A simple and effective movie. It doesn't have to be any more than that. It doesn't have to get overcomplicated and explain everything. Nobody wants that in this franchise. Like we don't want to know who Tamara is. I don't fucking care. I don't need to know who's behind the mask either because that's the whole point. You've missed the point if you're trying to do something that just explains these characters away. I would just give us another really good home invasion. That's what I would want to do. Maybe not so much with, like your 80s stylized pop songs playing the whole time. I would probably lose that from Pray at Night. But I also wouldn't go the Brian Bertino route either of just trying to do something that's pure pain because that's already been done. I would try to take it down a different route. Maybe try to throw a little bit of commentary in there. We have the Strangers characters who are like kind of presumably like redneck characters. They dress in like, flannels and some dirtier clothes and some like basically costume shop masks. They drive around this truck. That's kind of the impression I get from them. And then they just want to kill people. They're not very intelligent. They're like a lot more playful, a lot more like just play. We're playing with our food here. That's the vibe that they give off. I would just have them going after yet another house that they feel like they could fuck with these people. Maybe they, maybe even show something of them stalking them for a few days. I don't know. Just give me something simple and effective and scary. That's all this franchise needs to be moving forward, and to do any more than that, you ruin it. You lose the point.
Evan, what would you do if you were given the keys to the Stranger's Kingdom there?
Well, the first thing I would do is end it. It doesn't make sense. We don't need more of this. Like I'll give a more interesting answer in a second, but genuinely, like there does not need to be more. I like Pray at Night a lot. Like I have more fun watching Pray at Night than I do the first one. The first one's more well made and it's scarier, but the second one's just really fun. But you don't need it. Part of what makes the first one so effective is that we don't know who these people are. The more times that you revisit the concept, the less effective it's going to be. The novelty of that first movie is a huge reason that it was so effective. So it just doesn't make sense to keep revisiting them. I mean, I would probably do something fairly similar to what Jake was talking about with like something familial. I would want a bit of a happier family maybe than what we had in Pray at Night so we can explore a different side of this. Like it could still be really disturbing to have like a happy family with like young children who start getting attacked by this. I would be interested to see it on a farmhouse maybe. I like the aesthetic of that. There's like some options for really creepy imagery with like cornfields and, all that good spooky shit. But I also was thinking like a suburban thing where we're not isolated anymore because it feels like we're just doing that over and over again, where if we're going to bother revisiting this, we have to do something different with it. And especially because the isolation serves a very similar purpose that the lack of knowledge we have about the Strangers does. Once we already know who they are and they've been established, then having them be in this isolated context makes less sense to me. Like it's not as impactful as it was the first time around. So put it into a situation where like maybe there's a next door neighbor and it's like they're right there, but by whatever, you'd have to think this through, obviously. Whatever reason, they just can't get to them. The Strangers are preventing them from leaving the house and getting in touch with the people around them, which I think could be really fucking tense if they did that properly. This feeling of being encapsulated in your own home. I would probably go in that direction, but my first thing would just be to not do anything because it just doesn't make sense to me to keep making these movies.
No, that's fair. I mean, that's ultimately, I think, where most people are, and especially after this, I think a lot more people are going to be on that side. But yeah. Like, I agree with you. I think the thing before I let Luke the chains off of Luke there, because this is the whole reason I have this here is because I love this idea. Is just that at the end of the day, I think that Strangers Prey at Night like kind of gets away with it only because it is an alternative take. It's taking these characters
Yeah.
and it puts them into a more fun thing. Like we were talking about it on Jake's stream, where it's comfort, it's horror comfort food. It compared to the first one, which, like you said, is pure pain. It's the one that I can just throw on whenever if I want to watch a fun slasher. And like, I enjoy it. It's got some great sequences, some good tension, and it's not groundbreaking by any means, but it's fun. It's a fun film, and it does something different. And I think Luke's definitely does something different. Luke, go ahead, let him know. I'm gonna sit over here quietly and eat my popcorn.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have a deep rooted story or anything. That was just something I kind of threw out as we were watching. I really got hung up on how unique the Ryan character was because he had asthma. So I thought maybe that if we had a whole family, no, I'm kidding.
A whole family with asthma.
There it is. They all have to have water bottles. But no, looking at what we've gotten with the actual Strangers in terms of all the installments across the board, they always have that same, always takes place, same season, everything like that. And I thought, it's always a couple. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of open it up. Evan talking about that familial element, and kind of really, what if we go even extended family? And I thought, we have Art the Clown coming in for Christmas. I thought, what if the Strangers did as well? We play with that season. We play with, because you can have outside, you have the snow, you have that stylized version of everyone talks about the pool scene of Prey at Night. You can kind of have that with that Christmas element outside, but you also have that warm feeling on the inside.
Hell yeah.
With, we watch Krampus over Christmas and having not necessarily
Over here,
verbatim,
baby.
but those elements of, everyone getting together, people don't like each other, but then you throw the Strangers in there and they're there, supposed to be the happy time of the season. You have the presents, you have cookies baking, and then you have these interlopers coming in to wreak havoc because, hey, why the hell not? I think, that could be an interesting element to kind of give it that different twist of, we don't always have the kind of same looking outside of it's a summer night, it's a spring night. We have the elements of the snow or wherever the setting could be, the family getting together in a secluded area, not secluded area, have your pick. But I think that element of the Christmas season, hey, there's so much music to choose from. I think that could meld in. I think that ambiguous element of the Strangers, it really kind of does fit in anywhere, and it's just kind of picking that element of the story that you really want to hang your hat on. I think Christmas could be a fun
I like that idea a lot.
And
That's
can I
good.
just say, like, I've been thinking about this all day, like, since he pitched that to me, and the one like setup that I had that I thought would be unique, it's very brief, is just what if like the movie starts and you see their truck driving down like a kind of like it's almost like a foresty type road. Maybe they are going to
They get
a
stuck in the
big
snow. And
Airbnb. Exactly. They get stuck in the snow. And that's the motivation. The Strangers go to the first house they can find, and that's the whole reason they're there. And we see it for the first time. That's why they're going somewhere. But then we immediately shift perspectives and we're with the family. They're like getting a big get together. They're waiting for grandma and grandpa to show up to the family getaway home, vacation home. You still have some of those familiar elements, but I just thought, wouldn't it be great if it was just like, because they're mindless killers. They're people who love to play with their food, and they're just like, hey, you know what? Let's make the best of a bad situation. We're stuck in a blizzard. Let's go
kill
get
some people.
warm.
Yeah.
Let's get warm. Let's go kill some people. Let's have some fun. Plus, Luke said something last night, like just the idea of seeing like the Sackhead character just outside a window, frost, and like the Christmas light.
I like it.
And see, that understands why the Strangers work. It's not because, they're targeting people or something like that. They basic need for survival. It's random, it's chaos. That's what these characters represent. And Strangers Chapter 1 doesn't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, final question, and we'll wrap this bad boy up. Starting off, we'll kick it off with Luke. Man, we said it a little bit last night, just where we're sitting with this entire, what this is going to be, these next two chapters. How do you feel going forward? Do you think there's any salvaging this? Do you think that we can right the ship still, or do you think that this, since it's already all shot, it's not like with Halloween Kills and Ends where it's like they had wiggle room. This is done. It's in the can. Unless they do reshoots, that's it. Do you think they're already committed and we're gonna get some very generic horror films going forward, or are you gonna need to wait to see a trailer? Like, how you feeling?
This one certainly left a sour taste in my mouth. So I'm not, hoping for the best, I think, is out the window right now. The only saving grace is hopefully they can't pull too much from, hopefully, Pray at Night, I guess. Maybe is the only other property they can really steal from now. So I'm hoping for some uniqueness over these last two installments. Am I intrigued for it? Not really. I think regardless of the story, it's going to probably feel hollow in terms of not really having that element that we felt in the style that we've gotten from 2008 and then also Pray at Night. So that's a big fear of mine, is that it's just going to be this manufactured horror film. I'm hoping for some interesting hook in chapter 2 if they do the hospital, if they make the most of it and just don't play beats from Halloween 2. Who the hell knows? But I think this one was a really, really X on the franchise here, because of just this beat by beat remake. Not a great start to the first chapter in the I guess what we're getting 3. So I don't know. I'm not excited for it. I'll wait to see a trailer, but I'm not really thinking that it's really going to be knock your socks off. This is whoa, we're back in the game. So the only thing I can hope for is some uniqueness, but there's not much hope there.
Evan, how are you feeling, bud?
So I'm mildly curious about where they're going with this, but not because they set up anything that I want to know more about, but it's because I just don't know what the fuck they've got left to explore over 2 more movies. Like, there was not a world that was big enough set up in this movie that required another 2 entries. It was very thin. The only significant parts of setup that they did was having the locals act weird. Like, they act rude to Ryan and Maya, and then that's supposed to be your hook, but it's like, that's nothing. You have to do more than that. So I'm curious about the second one solely because of that, where I want to know what the fuck is going on, for reasons other than what I should be. But if this second movie is another trite, bland, manufactured plastic piece of shit, I will only see the third one out of obligation for the channel, because I'm going to want to make a video about it. It's absurd to me to start off a trilogy like this with just absolutely nothing to show. Even if 2 and 3 are great, it's not going to be because of anything that happened in the first one, because nothing happened in it. There was nothing. It's an empty, vapid movie. So 2 and 3, if they were the best horror movies ever, would be doing that on their own. So like this feels completely pointless. The other 2, I don't know. I don't have much hope. I didn't have much hope before, and now I have even less than I did before. I don't know. 2 is... we're getting them like within a year, so at least we don't have to wait very long. So there's that. We're not sitting in suspense, if you want to call it that, for however many years. I'm definitely not excited. I'm just kind of like morbidly curious about what they have. Like,
I get it. I feel you 100%. And Jake, you are our eternal optimist in the group here.
Yeah.
How are you feeling going forward with these films?
Dylan, I want to start this off by saying that I've been covering horror news and reading articles for 4.5 years now, where I'm reading I'm reading quotes from directors talking about their movie and how they feel about it. And I think what I've learned in that time is that people are a lot more honest than you think. We have so many people that will come out of the woodworks and say, oh, they're just hyping up their movie or whatever. But there is, it's like learning a language. You can like read through the lines and kind of see how they actually feel about the product that they've made. And I feel like I've known subconsciously that this was coming, but I was hoping that wasn't the case because I am such a big fan of The Strangers. But the way that Rennie Harlan and the rest of like Courtney Solomon, the producer, a lot of the other people involved, the way that they talk about these movies, they're so defensive when it comes to the first film. They're like, it's not a remake. It's not a remake of the original film, even though it kind of is. They're saying like, get past this so that we can get to the next two. I feel like it's only up from here. And I hate to say that. Maybe it's just the eternal optimist in me saying that. And, you know, Evan, Luke, you guys are right. Like, I don't think these next two movies are going to make this film so much better, you know, but I think like retroactively some of the stuff that was set up in this film could go somewhere interesting.
Hopefully,
right? We gotta hope. I really think that if like for me this was a 0 out of 10. It offered absolutely nothing new. The one thing that was cool that we talked about, like I said, was spoiled for me in a teaser. I think that genuinely the next film set at a hospital that has potential to be at least a 2 out of 10. And that's better, right?
There you go. That's an improvement.
That's better. That's 200% better, dude. So like, I think it's only up from here, but I ain't expecting anything higher than a 5 out of 10.
And you know, I'm
they have to be
sentiments better all the way around. I think everybody here is well spoken and said exactly how I feel too. You know, I said it in our review. They have made their bed. Now we just have to see if they sleep in it at this point and how that's going to go. And I just like Evan said, I think that if I will see the second one, I'm going to be more optimistic about it, especially once we see the trailer and hopefully see something different. You know, I'll be excited, but I think if that one like botches it and I am not even slightly more enthused, I will only see the third out of obligation. And that's it. Like just to get a review out and get something on the channel, because I know there's going to be people who want to know our thoughts and opinions. And you know, I think that just I agree with so many things that we said tonight. Where it's like I agree that with Evan when he says I don't think that we need more sequels. I love Luke's idea of setting this in, you know, like a holiday theme, kind of going there. I really like Jake's idea of like going era specific, where you kind of decide like, hey, maybe we'll do something that takes place even before the original Strangers, was setting it like the late 90s. Like that's super cool to me. Like I love that kind of ideas. I just don't know if Rennie Harlan and the team behind this have my trust at all right now with the fact that they're going to be thinking like that. They don't feel after this one like they're going to be thinking very proactively, and that's my biggest worry. And I think like that's shared across the table here, and I think that's shared across the entire horror community at the moment.
Seems to be pretty united for the most part.
It is, dude, and you know that's so wild. It's always fun when you go see something like a big horror film, or even really what I love is people slowly discovering independent horror films, especially because we have the privilege of getting screeners and advanced screenings and stuff like that. Like that's all great for the four of us. We get to see stuff and kind of help kind of push people in that direction to be like, hey, this is great, let's do this. But like when you get to that opening night and you just see everybody on social media just lighting up about a movie, and it's like, this is great, this is exciting. Like Terrifier 3, that's going to be a moment.
I'm so excited, man.
That's going to be a moment. Like, it's going to be insane. That's going to be a hell of a weekend.
I'm going to come fly to you guys and see it in the theater with you.
Oh my God.
That'd be the time to do it, brother. Like, that would be the time. You can stay at any of our houses. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's...
I already got
I'm staying at yours.
Staying in the basement for you, brother.
Yes.
But
you ever see Barbarian?
Yeah, I've seen Barbarian.
That's what the room looks like.
Jake, actually,
the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's such an odd feeling to see that exact energy, but to see it with the other side.
The opposite side.
Everybody has just been so united in their feelings and their disdain for this. And, you know, Jake, you brought up that point about Rennie Harlan and kind of like the interviews and stuff. And it's just like, my only thing is like, how could you do that? How could that be your motivation with this, of just saying, Just get through this one, guys. Just pay your money. Come see this one. And I promise the other two are the movies
That,
we really
by
want to
the
show
way,
you.
is such a disgusting approach to
Yeah.
making a movie. Like, if you're coming out and saying, hey, this movie is not good, but you should still pay me to come see it, fuck you. You made a shit movie.
And there will be people, I'm going to say this now, there are going to be people who are like, well, what about, like, Terrifier is kind of a proof of concept film.
He didn't market it like that, though.
And that's what I'm saying. They don't have the same budget. They don't
Yeah.
have the same money that these guys have, where it's like they have an established IP. They have Lionsgate behind
Yeah.
them. It's like there's no reason for a studio to take that mentality.
The reason that the first Terrifier feels empty is because the whole point of it was to make a showcase of what Leone had to show for the next one. That was him going, here's what I've got for this character, and he proved a fucking point. This doesn't show off any potential for the next two. It literally, he's just asking us to, like, wait, give me money and then wait for when it gets good. This is a game that released, this is Cyberpunk. It's a Cyberpunk of fucking movies. It released broken.
Unfinished.
And they're going, wait for the patch. Fuck off.
Wait for your Strangers Chapter 2 and 3 patches. We promise they'll be
it's
good.
literally, they missed the day one patch.
Luke was even, he made a comment last night about, like, we're going to get an announcement, like, next week where they're going to say that the movie's been pushed back and they're going in for reshoots.
or
They're going to
whatever,
do it
yeah.
all. It's like, yeah.
That or they're coming to streaming. This might bomb.
I'm worried, man. I'm worried for them for that. But I think 2, even though I don't know if we have a definitive date yet, other than October.
They said, like, fall.
Yeah, the fall. That's all we know, I think.
So it's like, yeah, there's a good chance that this could shift. But also, I think, like, I would say if you're that confident in your sequels, just commit to the bit. That's all I'm going to say. I think that's the best
Just put
place
them
to
out.
end this.
Release
We've been talking
them.
for an hour
Yeah.
and 15 minutes. I know it's late for all of us where we're at. So I think that is the best spot where we can end this. I think it's safe to say that when Chapter 2 comes out, we'll get the band back together here, and we'll do a little checkup. We'll make sure everybody's doing all right. Hopefully,
Fingers
we'll make
crossed.
sure everybody's doing it. Hopefully, some of us will still be here. Nobody's gonna just to do anything drastic. So that was a little dark. I'm sorry, but anyway,
It wasn't that bad.
Dylan, are you okay, buddy?
no, I'm very upset. It's been a stressful day. No, I it is what it is. But
Yeah.
anyway, Evan, where can the folks find you? Tell them a little bit about your channel.
Yeah.
Go for
You can find me over at Rockland Graves Productions. I make videos.
Cool.
Jake?
Great.
So if you go down Mulberry Lane, I'm the guy making the cupcakes. I do any kind of flavor. That's the gimmick. So you give me some fish heads, I'll make you some fish head cupcakes. So
Strangers.
come on down. Strangers cupcakes, I'll
I
do
want a
them.
Stranger's flavored cupcake. I want it to taste like this movie.
Oh, then it'll taste like bland gray substance. Nothing.
It'll be like when you bite into a pretty patty.
Yeah, right. That's this movie. Like, it looks like it's good, and you bite into it.
That's what I want.
It doesn't even look good. Like, that's the thing. But no, I see what you're saying. It is what it is. And yeah, you guys know where we're at. Hopefully, we are Splattercast here. We be posting some videos. There were some other good movies. I thought the new Meta Terrifier movie was pretty good. The Faceless After Dark. I didn't think that was too bad.
I finally saw In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, that we're gonna be talking about that here pretty soon. That's exciting. So that's one to look forward to for sure. And guys, I think that hopefully the next couple months will present some more positive flicks, and we'll always be here.
We've had
to
a
talk
lot of good ones
spoilers.
this year.
We
It's
have.
not all bad.
You got to take
coming.
the bad with the good sometimes.
Nosferatu is still coming out. It's okay.
Yes.
It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, guys, other than that, we're going to wrap it up here. So until next time, I'm Dylan Knoll.
I'm Luke Janesco.
I'm Evan from Rockland Graves.
And I am Killjoy Jake.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, slash ass, 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 Splattercast. smash your ass.